All right, welcome back. Hey, welcome back to this experimental live read of Ragnarok, The Age of Fire and Gravel. This is a book that was written in 1883 by Ignatius Donnelly. And we've been through part one, The Drift, part two, The Comet, part three, The Legends, and we're getting towards the end of that part three, The Legends. This is the last half of chapter 12, the book of Job. This is kind of where it gets fun. So this is like how the sausage is made here in Adult Brain. I'm Graham, one of the narrators. Going to be showing you how how I read it and edit it as I go. So this is going to be sort of raw and unedited. Yet I'm editing as I go. So hopefully I don't snort and cough too much. I'll try and keep it smooth. I'm going to share screen here and share my whole entire other screen, and then we'll jump into it. So we are right in the middle of the book of Job right now. This is probably about another 25 pages of this chapter, kind of a long chapter. Check. This is not death. Death is a place of peace, where the wicked ceased from troubling. This is a description of the chaotic condition of things on the earth outside of the cave, without any order, and where even the feeble light of day is little better than total darkness. Job thinks he might just as well go into this dreadful world and end it all. So far, argues chapter 11 that all these things have come because of the wickedness of the people, and that it is all right. 10. If he cut off and shut up and gather together, who can hinder him? 11. For he knoweth vain men. He seek. Just expand this out here and redo that one. Uh-oh. I can't hear it. Uh-oh, something's wrong with my audio. Let me just check here. Oh boy. Okay, let's see if this helps. Play that now. 11. There we go. Okay. This is a bit different. It's split in half instead of one whole screen on each, so I'll get used to using sort of half of each here. 11. For he knoweth vain men. He seeth wickedness also. Will he not then consider it? If he cut off, the commentators say, means literally if he pass by as a storm. That is to say, if he cuts off the people, kills them by the million, and shuts up a few in caves, as Job was shut up in prison, gathered together from the storm, how are you going to help it? Hath he not seen the vanity and wickedness of man? And so far it tells Job to hope and pray to God, and that he will yet escape. 16. Because thou shalt forget thy misery, and remember it as waters that pass away. 17. And thine age shall be clearer than the noonday. Thou shalt shine forth. Thou shalt be as the morning. Thou shalt shine forth, Jezenius. Thou shalt shine forth, Jezenius renders, though now the thou shalt shine forth, Jezenius renders, though now thou art in darkness, thou shalt presently be as the morning. That is, the storm will pass and the light return. Umbrate gives it, thy darkness shall be as the morning, only the darkness of morning twilight, not nocturnal darkness. That is, Job will return to that dim light which followed the drift age. 18. And thou shalt be secure, because there is hope. Yeah, thou shalt dig about thee, and thou shalt take thy rest in safety. That is to say, when the waters pass away, with them shall pass away thy miseries. The sun shall yet return brighter than ever. Thou shalt be secure. Thou shalt dig thy way out of these caverns, and then take thy rest in safety, for the great tempest shall have passed forever. We are told by the commentators that the words about thee are an interpolation, If this is not the interpretation, for what would Job dig about him? What relation can digging have with the disease which afflicted Job? But Job refuses to receive this consolation. He refuses to believe that the Tower of Siloam fell only on the wickedest men in the city. He refers to his past experience of mankind. He thinks honest poverty is without honor at the hands of successful fraud. He says, chapter 12, 5, he that is ready to slip with his feet is as a lamp despised in the thought of him that is at ease. But, 6, the tabernacles of robbers prosper, and they that provoke God are secure, into whose hand God bringeth abundantly. And he could not see how, if this calamity has come upon men for their sins, that the innocent birds and beasts, and even the fish in the heated and poisoned waters are perishing. 7. But ask now the beasts, for verily, he has just said, ye are the men, and wisdom will die with you, and they shall teach thee, and the fowls of the air, and they shall tell thee. 8. Or speak to the earth, and it shall teach thee, and the fishes of the sea shall declare it unto thee. 9. Who knoweth not in 9. Who knoweth not in all these that the hand of the Lord hath wrought this? Wrought what? Job's disease? No, some great catastrophe to bird and beast and earth. You pretend, he says, in effect, ye wise men, that only the wicked have suffered, but it is not so. For aforetime I have seen the honest poor man despised, and the villain prosperous. And if the sins of men have brought this catastrophe on the earth, go ask the beasts and the birds and the fish, and the very face of the suffering earth, what they have done to provoke this wrath. No, it is the work of God and of God alone, and he gives and will give no reason for it. 14. Behold, he breaketh down, and it cannot be built up again. He shutteth up a man, and there can be no opening. 15. Behold, he will behold the waters. He withholdeth the waters. 15. Behold, he withholdeth the waters, and they dry up. Also he sendeth them out, and they overturn the earth. That is to say, the heat of the fire from heaven sucks up the waters until rivers and lakes are dried up. Cacus steals the cows of Hercules, and then again they fall, deluging and overturning the earth, piling it up into mountains in one place, says the Tupi legend, and digging out valleys in another. And God buries men in the caves in which they sought shelter. 23. He increaseth the nations and destroyeth them. He enlargeth the nations. He enlargeth the nations and straighteneth them again. 24. He taketh away the heart of the chief of the people of the earth, and causeth them to wander in a wilderness where there is no way. 25. They grope in the dark without light, and he maketh them to stagger like a drunken man. More darkness, more groping in the dark, more of that staggering like drunken men described in the American legends. Lo, mine eye, says Job 13:1, hath seen all this, mine ear hath heard it and understood it. What ye know, the same do I know also. We have all seen it, says Job, and now you would come here with your platitudes about God sending all this to punish the wicked. 4. But ye are forgers of lies. Ye are all physicians of no value. Honest Job is disgusted and denounces his counselors with Carlilian, 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 Carlilian. Honest. Check, check. Honest Job is disgusted and denounces his counselors with Carlilian vigor. 11. Shall not his excellency make you afraid, and his dread fall upon you? 12. Your remembrances are like unto ashes, your bodies to bodies of clay. 13. Hold your peace, let me alone that I may speak, and let come on me what will. 14. Wherefore do I take my flesh in my teeth, and put my life in mine hand? 15. Though he slay me, yet will I trust in him, but I will maintain mine own ways before him. In other words, I don't think this thing is right, and though I tear my flesh with my teeth and contemplate suicide, and though I may be slain for speaking, yet I will speak out and maintain that God ought not to have done this thing. He ought not to have sent this horrible affliction on the earth, this fire from heaven which burned up my cattle, this whirlwind which slew my children, this sand of the sea, this rush of floods, this darkness in noonday in which mankind grope helplessly, these arrows, this poison, this rush of waters, this sweeping away of mountains? If I hold my tongue, says Job, I shall give up the ghost. Job believes, the grief that will not speak whispers the overfraught heart and bids it break. As the waters fail from the sea, says Job 14:11, and the flood decayeth and drieth up. 12. So man lieth down and riseth not, till the heavens be no more. They shall not awake, nor be raised out of their sleep. 13. Oh, that thou 13. Excuse me. 13. Oh, that thou wouldest hide me in the grave, that thou wouldest keep me secret until thy wrath be past, that thou wouldest appoint me a set time and remember me. What does this mean? When in history have the waters failed from the sea? Job believes in the immortality of the soul. 19:26. Though worms destroy this body, yet in my flesh shall I see God. Can these words then be of general application and mean that those who lie down and rise shall not awake forever? No, he is simply telling that when the conflagration came and dried up the seas, it slaughtered the people by the million. They fell and perished, never to live again. And he calls on God to hide him in a grave, a tomb, a cavern, until the day of his wrath be past, and then to remember him, to come for him, to let him out. 20. My bone cleaveth to my skin and to my flesh, and I am escaped with the skin of my teeth. Escaped from what? From his physical disease? No, he carried that with him. But Zophar insists that there is a special providence in all these things, and that only the wicked have perished. Chapter 20. 5. The triumphing of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite but for a moment. 7. Yet he shall perish forever like his own dung, which they have seen him. 7. They which have seen him shall say. 7. Yet he shall perish forever like his own dung. They which have seen him shall say, where is he? 16. He shall suck the poison of asps. The viper's tongue shall slay him. How? 23. When is he about to fill his belly, God shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him, and shall rain it upon him while he is eating. 24. He shall flee from the iron weapon, and the bow of steel shall strike him through. 25. It is drawn and cometh out of the body. Yeah, the glittering sword. The comet? Cometh out of his gall. Terrors are upon him. 26. All darkness shall be hid in his secret places. A fire not blown shall consume him. 27. The heavens shall reveal his iniquity, and the earth shall rise up against him. 28. The increase of his house shall depart, and his gods shall flow away in the day of his wrath. What does all this mean? While the rich man, necessarily a wicked man, is eating his dinner, God shall rain upon him a consuming fire, a fire not blown by man. He shall be pierced by the arrows of God. Let me redo that one again. He shall be pierced by the arrows of God. The earth shall quake under his feet. The heavens shall blaze forth his iniquity. The darkness shall be hid, shall disappear in the glare of the conflagration, and his substance shall flow away, and his substance shall flow away in the floods of God's wrath. Job answers him in powerful language, maintaining from past experience his position that the wicked ones do not suffer in this life any more than the virtuous. Chapter 21. Their houses are safe from fear, neither is the rod of God upon them. Their bull gendereth and faileth not. Their cow calveth and casteth not her calf. They send forth their little ones like a flock, and their children dance. They spend their days in wealth, and in a moment go down to the grave. Therefore they say unto God, Depart from us, for we desire not the knowledge of thy ways. And here we seem to have a description, chapter 16, Douay version, of Job's contact with the comet. 9. A false speaker riseth up against my face, contradicting me. That is, Job had always proclaimed the goodness of God, and here comes something altogether evil. 10. He hath gathered together his fury against me, and threatening me, he hath gushed with his teeth upon me. My enemy hath beheld me with terrible eyes. 14. He has compassed me round about with his lances. He hath wounded my loins. He hath not spared. He hath poured out my bowels on the earth. 15. He hath torn me with wound upon wound. He hath rushed in upon me like a giant. 20. For behold, my witness is in heaven, and he that knoweth my conscience is on high. It is impossible to understand this as referring to a skin disease or even to the contradictions of Job's companions, Zophar, Bildad, etc. Something rose up against Job that comes upon him with fury, gnashes his teeth on him, glares at him with terrible eyes, surrounds him with lances, wounds him in every part, and rushes upon him like a giant. And the witness of the truth of Job's statement is there in the heavens. Eliphaz returns to the charge. He rebukes Job and charges him with many sins and oppressions. Chapter 22. Excuse me. Oh, here comes the cat. Now my legs are going to wake up. 10. Therefore snares are round about thee, and sudden fear troubleth thee. 11. Or darkness that thou canst not see, and abundance of waters cover thee. 13. And thou sayest, How doth God know? Can he judge through the dark cloud? 14. Thick clouds are a covering to him that he seeth not, and he walketh in the circuit of heaven. 15. Hast thou marked the old way which wicked men have trodden? I'll redo that one. 15. Hast thou marked the old way which wicked men have trodden? 16. Which were cut down out of time, whose foundations was overflown with a flood. 20. Whereas our substance is not cut down, but the remnant of them the fire consumeth. 24. He shall give for earth flint, and for flint torrents of gold. Douay version. What is the meaning of all this? And why this association of the flint stones referred to in so many legends, and the gold believed to have fallen from heaven in torrents? Is it not all wonderful and inexplicable upon any other theory than that which I suggest? 30. He shall deliver the island of the innocent, and it is delivered by the pureness of thine, Job's hands. What does this mean? Where was the island of the innocent? What was the way which the wicked who did not live on the island of the innocent had trodden, but which was swept away in the flood as the bridge Bifrost was destroyed in the Gothic legends by the forces of Muspelheim? Heim, Muselpaheim, Muselpheim, Musel. Oh, I can't get it. I have to look it up. Musel. Where was it? It was way back there. Musel. For some reason, I'm not getting it. Musel. I'm trying to either scroll through. I know I have it somewhere here. Oh, there it is. Maybe. Let's see. I could write it out, type it out again, but I feel like I need to. It's that Norse translation, that pronunciation, that oh, there it is. Muspelheim. It's that Heim. Gothic legends by the forces of Muspelheim. Okay, I'm gonna have to go back here and redo this one. What was the way which the wicked who did not live on the island of the... What was the way? Muspelheim. Check. What was the way which the wicked who did not live on the island of the innocent had trodden, but which was swept away in the flood as the bridge Bifrost was destroyed in the Gothic legends by the forces of Muspelheim? And Job replies again, chapter 23, 16. For God maketh my heart soft, and the Almighty troubleth me. 17. Because I was not cut off before the darkness, neither hath he recovered. I'm going to redo that one. But now my cursor's not there. Uh-oh. For God maketh my heart soft. Check. 16. For God maketh my heart soft, and the Almighty troubleth me. 17. Because I was not cut off before the darkness, neither hath he covered the darkness from my face. That is to say, why did I not die before this great calamity fell on the earth and before I saw it? Job continues, chapter 26. 5. Dead things are formed from under the waters, and the inhabitants thereof. 6. Hell is naked before him, and destruction hath no covering. The commentators tell us that the words, dead things are formed under the waters, means literally the souls of the dead tremble from under the waters. In all lands, the home of the dead was, as I have shown, elsewhere beyond the waters. And just as we have seen in Ovid that Phaeton's conflagration burst open the earth and disturbed the inhabitants of Tartarus, and in Hesiod's narrative that the ghosts trembled around Plato in his death. Check. And in Hesiod's narrative that the ghosts trembled around Plato in his dread dominion. So here hell is laid bare by the great catastrophe, and the souls of the dead in the drowned floodland beneath the waters tremble. Surely all these legends are fragments of one and the same great story. Sorry. 7. He stretcheth out the north over the empty place, and hangeth the earth upon nothing. 8. He bindeth up the waters in his thick clouds, and the cloud is not rent under them. The clouds do not break with this unparalleled load of moisture. 9. He holdeth back the face of his throne, and spreadeth his cloud upon it. 10. He hath compassed 10. He hath compassed the waters with bounds until the day and night come to an end. 11. The pillars of heaven tremble and are astonished at his reproof. 12. He divideth the sea with his power, and by his understanding he smiteth through the proud. By his wisdom he has struck the proud one. Douay version. 13. By his spirit he hath garnished the heavens. His hand hath formed the crooked serpent. His artful hand brought forth the winding serpent. Douay version. What is the meaning of all this? The dead under the waters tremble. Hell is naked. What is. Sorry, excuse me. What is the meaning of all this? The dead under the waters tremble. Hell is naked in the blazing heat, and destruction is uncovered. The north, the cold, descends on the world. The waters are bound up in thick clouds. The face of God's throne, the sun, is hidden by the clouds spread upon it. Darkness has come, day and night are all one. The earth trembles. He has lighted up the heavens with the fiery comet, shaped like a crooked serpent. But he has struck him as Indra struck Vritra. How else can these words be interpreted? When otherwise did the day and night come to an end? What is the crooked serpent? Job continues, chapter 28, and speaks in an enigmatic way, v3, of the stones of darkness and the shadow of death. 4. The flood breaketh out from the inhabitants, even the waters forgotten of the foot. They are dried up, they are gone away from men. 5. As for the earth, out of it cometh bread, and under it is turned up as it were fire. Maurer and Gesenius translate verse 4 in a way wonderfully in accord with my theory. The flood breaketh out from the inhabitants. The flood breaketh out from the inhabitants. They render a shaft or gully-like pit is broken open far from the inhabitant, the dweller on the surface of the earth. This is doubtless the pit in which Job was hidden, the narrow-mouthed, bottomless cave referred to hereafter. And the words forgotten of the foot confirm this view, for the high authorities just cited tell us that these words mean literally unsupported by the foot, they hang by ropes in descending. They are dried up. They are gone away from men. Here we have probably a picture of Job and his companions descending by ropes into some great cavern, dried up by the heat, seeking refuge far from the inhabitations of men. Do I redo that whole thing? Yes, let's do it. Here we have. Sorry about that. I said inhabitations instead of habitations. Here we have probably a picture of Job and his companions descending by ropes into some great cavern, dried up by the heat, seeking refuge far from the habitations of men in some deep shaft or gully-like pit. And the words, they are gone away from men. Maurer and Gesenius translate, far from men they move with uncertain steps, they stagger. They are stumbling through the darkness, hurrying to a place of refuge, precisely as narrated in the Central American legends. This is according to the King James Version, but the Douay version gives it as follows. 3. He hath set a time for darkness, and the end of all things he considereth. The stone also that is in the dark and the shadow of death. 4. The flood divideth from the people that are on their journey, those whom the foot of the needy man hath forgotten, and those who cannot become at, those whom the foot of, gotta redo that one. 4. Sorry about that. 4. The flood divideth from the people that are on their journey, those whom the foot of the needy man hath forgotten, and those who cannot become at. 5. The land out of which bread grew in its place hath been overturned with fire. That is to say, God has considered whether he would not make an end of all things. He has set a time for darkness. In the dark are the stones. The flood separates the people. Those who are escaping are divided by it from those who were forgotten, or who are on the other side of the flood, where they cannot be come at. But the land where formerly bread grew, the land of the agricultural people, the civilized land, the plain of Ida, where grew the apples, the plain of Vigrid, where the great battle took place, that has been overturned by fire. And this land, the next verse tells us, 6, the stones are of it, are the place of sapphires, and the clods of it, King James, dust, are gold. We are again reminded of those legends of America and Europe where gold and jewels fell from heaven among the stones. We are reminded of the dragon-guarded hordes of the ancient myths. The Douay version says, 9, he, God, has stretched out his hand to the flint. He hath overturned mountains from the roots. What is the meaning of flint here? And why this recurrence of the word flint, so common in the Central American legends and religions? And when did God, in the natural order of things, overturn mountains by the roots? And Job, chapter 30, Douay version. Douay, not Douay. Why am I saying Douay all of a sudden? Check. And Job, chapter 30, Douay version, describes the condition of the multitude who at first mocked him, and the description recalls vividly the Central American pictures of the poor starving wanderers who followed the drift age. 3, barren with want and hunger, who gnawed in the wilderness, disfigured with calamity and misery. 4, and they ate grass and barks of trees, and the roots of junipers was their food. 5, who snatched up these things out of the valleys, and when they had found any of them, they ran to them with a cry. 6, they dwelt in the desert places of torrents, and in caves of the earth, or upon the gravel. Is not all this wonderful? In the King James Version, verse 3 reads, 3, for want and famine they were solitary, fleeing into the wilderness, in former time desolate and waste. The commentators say the words The commentators say that the words in former time desolate and waste mean literally the yesternight of desolation and waste. Job is describing the condition of the people immediately following the catastrophe, not in some remote past. And again, Job says, Douay version, chapter 30, 12, my calamities forthwith arose. They have overthrown my feet and have overwhelmed me with their paths as with waves. 14, they have rushed in upon me as a wall is broken and a gate opened. 14, they have rushed. I don't know what's going on. I'm having trouble with my record recording levels here. Usually it doesn't drop past 44%, but 14, they have rushed in upon me as when a wall is broken and a gate opened, and have rolled themselves down to my miseries. Moorer translates, as when a wall is broken, with a shout like a crash of falling masonry. 29, I was the brother of dragons and companion of ostriches. 30, my skin has become black upon me, and my bones are dried up with the heat. We are reminded of Ovid's statement that the conflagration of Phaeton caused the skin of the Africans to turn black. In chapter 34, King James Version, we read 14, if he, God, set his heart upon man, if he gather unto himself his spirit and his breath. 15, all flesh shall perish together, and man shall turn again into dust. And in chapter 36, verse 15, 16, Douay, we see that Job was shut up in something like a cavern. 15, he shall deliver the poor out of his distress, and shall open his ear in affliction. 16, therefore he shall see 3 at large out of the narrow mouth, and which hath no foundation under. Excuse me. Therefore he shall see 3 at large out of the narrow mouth, and which. Check. Check, 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 check. Therefore he shall see thee at large out of the narrow mouth, and which hath no foundation under it, and the rest of thy table shall be full of fatness. That is to say, in the day when he delivers the poor out of their misery, he will bring thee forth from the place where thou hast been hiding. See chapter 13:20, from that narrow-mouthed, bottomless cavern. Excuse me. Check, check. And instead of starving, as you have been, your table during the rest of your life shall be full of fatness. 27. He, God, lifted up the drops of rain and poureth out showers like floods. 28. Which flow from the crowds. 20. Scroll up a bit. 28. Which flow from the clouds. 28. Which flow from the crowds. Whoops, I keep saying crowds. 28. Which flow from the clouds, which cover all from above. The commentators tell us that this expression, which cover all from above, means literally the bottom of the sea is laid bare, and they confess their inability to understand it. But it is not the same. But is it not? But is it not the same story told by Ovid at the bottom of the But is it not the same story told by Ovid of the bottom of the Mediterranean having been rendered a bed of dry sand by Phaeton's conflagration? And does it not remind us of the Central American legend of the starving people migrating in search of the sun through rocky places where the sea had been separated to allow them to pass? And the King James Version continues, 32, with clouds he covereth the light, and commandeth it not to shine by the cloud that cometh betwixt. 33, the noise thereof sheweth concerning it, the cattle also concerning the vapor. This last line shows how greatly the original text has been garbled. What have the cattle to do with it? Unless indeed here, as in the other myth, the cows signify the clouds. The meaning of the rest is plain. God draws up the water, sends it down as rain, which covers all things. The clouds gather before the sun and hide its light, and the vapor restores the clouds, and all this is accompanied by great disturbances and noise. And the next chapter, 37, continues the description. 2. Hear ye attentively the terror of the comet's voice, and the sound that cometh out of his mouth. 3. He beholdeth under all the heavens. He is seen under all the heavens. 3. That was a question in brackets. 3. He beholdeth under all the heavens. He is seen under all the heavens, and his light is upon the ends of the earth. 4. After it a noise shall roar, he shall thunder with the voice of his majesty, and shall not be found out when his voice shall be heard. The King James Version says, and he will not stay them when his voice is heard. 5. God shall thunder wonderfully with his voice, he that doth great and unsearchable things. Here probably are more allusions to the awful Here probably Here, probably, are more allusions to the awful noises made by the comet as it entered our atmosphere, referred to by Hesiod. Here, probably, are more allusions to the awful noises made by the comet as it entered our atmosphere, referred to by Hesiod, the Russian legends, etc. 6. He commandeth the snow to go down upon the earth, and the winter rain and the shower of his strength. The great rain of his strength, says the King James Version. 7. He seal up the land of every man. This means, says one commentator, that he confines men within doors by these great rains. Instead of houses, we infer it to mean the caves of the earth, already spoken of, chapter 35:6. And this is rendered more evident by the next verse, 8. And the beast shall go into his covert and shall abide in his den. 9. Out of the inner parts, meaning the south, say the commentators and the King James Version, shall a tempest come, and cold out of the north. 10. When God bloweth, there cometh frost, and again the waters are poured forth abundantly. The King James Version continues. 11. Also by watering he wearieth the thick cloud. That is to say, the cloud is gradually dissipated by dropping its moisture in snow and rain. 12. And it is turned round again. 12. And it is turned round about by his counsels, that they may do so. 12. And it is turned round about by his counsels, that they may do whatsoever he commandeth them upon the face of the world in the earth. 13. He causeth it to come, whether for correction or for his land or for mercy. There can be no mistaking all this. It refers to no ordinary events. The statement is continuous. God, we are told, will call Job out from his narrow-mouthed cave and once more give him plenty of food. There has been a great tribulation. The sun has sucked up the seas. They have fallen in great floods. The thick clouds have covered the face of the sun. Great noises prevail. There is a great light, and after it a roaring noise. The snow falls on the earth with winter rains, cold rains, and great rains. Men climb down ropes into deep shafts or pits. They are sealed up, and beasts are driven to their dens and stay there. There are great cold and frost and more floods. Then the continual rains dissipate the clouds. 19. Teach us what we shall say unto him, for we cannot order our speech by reason of darkness. 20. Shall it be told him that I speak? If a man speak, surely he shall be swallowed up. And then God talks to Job, chapter 38, and tells him to gird up his loins like a man and answer him. He says, 8. Who shut up the sea with doors when it broke forth as issuing out of the womb? 9. When I made a cloud the garment thereof, and wrap. Thanks for the comment. When I made a cloud. I'm going to do the whole book no matter what, so I don't care if people are watching or not. I got to do the book anyway, so. 9. Thank you for the comment and watching. 9. When I made a cloud the garment thereof, and wrapped it in mists as in swaddling bands. 9. When I made a cloud the garment thereof, and wrapped it in mists as in swaddling bands. 10. I set my bounds around it and made it bars and doors. 22. Hast thou entered into the storehouses of the snow, or hast thou beheld the treasures of the hail? 29. Out of whose womb came the ice, and the frost from heaven? Who hath gendered it? 30. The waters are hardened like a stone, and the surface of the deep is frozen. What has this Arabian poem to do with so many allusions to clouds, rain, ice, snow, hail, frost, and frozen oceans? 36. Who hath put wisdom in the inward part, or who hath given understanding to the heart? Umbrate says that this word heart means literally a shining phenomenon, a meteor. Who hath given understanding to the comet to do this work? 38. When was the dust poured on the earth and the clouds hardened together? One version makes this read, poured itself into a mass by the rain like molten metal, and another translates it, is caked into a mass by heat like molten metal before the rain falls. This is precisely in accordance with the Check, check. Check. This is precisely in accordance with my theory that the till, or hard pan, next the earth, was caked and baked by the heat into its present pottery-like and impenetrable condition, long before the work of cooling and condensation set loose the floods to rearrange and form secondary drift out of the upper portion of the debris. But again, I ask, when in the natural order of events was dust poured on the earth and hardened into clods, like molten metal? And in this book of Job, I think we have a description of the veritable comets that struck the earth in the drift age, transmitted even from the generations that beheld them blazing in the sky, in the words of those who looked upon the awful sight. In the Norse legends, we read of 3 destructive objects which appeared in the heavens. One of these was shaped like a serpent. It was called the Midgard serpent. Then there was the Fenris wolf, and lastly the dog Garm. In Hesiod, we read also of 3 monsters. First, Echidna, a serpent huge and terrible and vast. Second, Chimera, a lion-like creature. And thirdly, Typhoeus, worst of all, a fierce, fiery dragon. And in Job, in like manner, we have 3 mighty objects alluded to or described. First was the winding or twisting serpent with which God has adorned the heavens. Then Behemoth, monstrous enough to drink up rivers, the chief of the ways of God. And lastly, and most terrible of all, Leviathan, the name meaning the twisting animal gathering itself into folds. God, speaking to Job and reminding him of the weakness and littleness of man, says, chapter 40, 5:20, "Canst thou draw out the Leviathan with a hook, or canst thou tie his tongue with a cord?" The commentators differ widely as to the meaning of this word, Leviathan. Some, as I have shown, think it means the same thing as the crooked or winding serpent, vulg, spoken of in chapter 26, 5:13, where, speaking of God, it is said, "His spirit hath adorned the heavens, and his artful hand brought forth the winding serpent." Or, as the King James Version has it, "By his spirit he hath garnished the heavens. His hand hath formed the crooked serpent." By this serpent, some of the commentators understand a constellation, the devil, the Leviathan. In the Septuagint, he is called the apostate dragon. The Lord sarcastically asks Job 21, "Canst thou put a ring in his nose or bore through his jaw with a buckle?" 22, "Will he make many supplications to thee or speak soft words to thee?" 23, "Will he make a covenant with thee, and wilt thou take him to be a servant forever?" 24, "Shalt thou play with him as with a bird, or tie him up for thy handmaids?" 25, "Shall friends seps 20 25, "Shall friends," Septuagint, "the nations, cut him in pieces? Shall merchants," Septuagint, "the generation of the Phoenicians, divide him?" Chapter 41, 5:1, Douay version, "I will not stir him up like one that is cruel, for who can resist his countenance? Or who shall stand against me, him, and live? For who can discover the face of his garment? Or who can into for, for who can discover the face of his garment? Or who can go into the midst of his mouth? 5. Who can open the doors of his face? His teeth are terrible round about. 6. His body is like molten shields, shut close up, the scales pressing upon one another. 7. One is joined to another, and not so much as any air can come between them. 8. They stick one to another, and they hold one another fast, and shall not be separated. 9. His sneezing is like the shining of fire, and his eyes like the eyelids of the morning. Syriac, his look is brilliant. Arabic, the apples of his eyes are fiery, and his eyes are like the brightness of the morning. 10. Out of his mouth go forth lamps, like torches of lighted fire. Compare these sneezings or neezings of the King James Version and the lamps like torches of lighted fire with the appearance of Donati's great comet of 1858. On the 16th of September, two diverging streams of light shot out from the nucleus across the coma, and having separated to about the extent of its diameter, they turned back abruptly and streamed out in the tail. A luminous substance could be distinctly seen rushing out from the nucleus and then flowing back into the tail. Monsieur Rosa described the streams of light as resembling long hair brushed upward from the forehead and then allowed to fall back on each side of the head. 11. Out of his nostrils goeth forth smoke like that of a pot headed and boiling. King James Version has it as out of a seething pot or cauldron. 12. His breath kindleth coals, and a flame cometh forth out of his mouth. 13. In his neck strength shall dwell, and want goeth before his face. Septuagint. Destruction runs before him. 14. The members of his flesh cleave one to another. He shall send lightnings against him, and they shall not be carried to another place. Sim, his flesh being cast for him as in a foundry, molten, is immovable. 15. His heart shall be as hard as a stone, and as firm as a smith's anvil. Septuagint. He hath stood immovable as an anvil. 16. When he shall raise him up, the angels shall fear, and being affrighted shall purify themselves. Could such language properly be applied, even by the wildest stretch of poetic fancy, to a whole... Oops. Well, that sucks. Oh, did it go down below? Okay. Could such... Check. Could such language properly be applied, even by the wildest stretch of poetic fancy, to a whale or a crocodile or any other monster of the deep? What earthly creature could terrify the angels in heaven? What earthly creature has ever breathed fire? 17. When a sword shall lay at him, it shall not be able to hold nor a spear nor a breastplate. 18. For he shall esteem iron as straw and brass as rotten wood. 19. The archer shall not put him to flight. The stones of the sling are to him like stubble. 20. As stubble will he esteem the hammer, and he will laugh him to scorn that shaketh the spear. Let me redo that one quickly. 20. As stubble will he esteem the hammer, and he will laugh him to scorn who shaketh the spear. We are reminded of the great gods of Asgard, who stood forth and fought the monster with sword and spear and hammer, and who fell dead before him, and of the American legends where the demigods in vain hurled their darts and arrows at him, and fell pierced by the rebounding weapons. 21. The beams of the sun shall be under him. In the King James Version it is, sharp stones are under him, the gravel, the falling debris. And he shall strew gold under him like mire. The King James Version says, he spreadeth sharp-pointed things upon the mire. To what whale or crocodile can these words be applied? When did they ever shed gold or stones? And in this again, we have more references to gold falling from heaven. 22. He shall make the deep sea to boil like a pot, and shall make it as when ointments boil. The Septuagint says, he deems the sea as a vase of ointment, and the Tartarus of the abyss like a prisoner. 23. A path shall 23. A path shall shine after him. He shall esteem the deep as growing old. The King James Version says, one would think the deep to be hoary. 24. There is no power upon earth that can be compared with him, who was made to fear no one. 25. He beholdeth every high thing. He is king over all the children of pride. Chaldaic, all the sons of the mountains. Now, when we take this description with all that has preceded it, it seems to me beyond question that this was one of the crooked serpents with which God had adorned the heavens. This was the monster with blazing head. casting out jets of light, breathing volumes of smoke, molten, shining, brilliant, irresistible, against whom men hurled their weapons in vain. For destruction went before him. He cast down stones and pointed things upon the mire, the clay. The sea boils with his excessive heat. He threatens heaven itself. The angels tremble, and he beholds all high places. This is he whose rain of fire killed Job's sheep and shepherds. Oh, excuse me. Check, check. Whose chaotic winds killed Job's children, whose wrath fell upon and consumed the rich men at their tables, who made the habitations of kings desolate places, who spared only in part the island of the innocent, where the remnant of humanity descending by ropes hid themselves in deep, narrow-mouthed caves in the mountains. This is he who dried up the rivers and absorbed or evaporated a great part of the water of the ocean, to subsequently cast it down in great floods of snow and rain, to cover the north with ice, while the darkened world rolled on for a long night of blackness underneath its dense canopy of clouds. If this be not the true interpretation of Job, who, let me ask, can explain all these illusions to harmonize with the established order of nature. And this isn't, whoops. And if this interpretation be the true one, then have we indeed penetrated back through all the ages, through mighty lapses of time, until on the plain of some most ancient civilized land, we, what does that say? We listen, perchance? We listen, we listen. All right, I got to redo that now. We listen, perchance, at some temple door to this grand justification of the ways. Okay. And if this interpretation be the true one, then have we indeed penetrated back through all the ages, through mighty lapses of time, until on the plain of some most ancient civilized land, we listen, perchance, at some temple door to this grand justification of the ways of God to man. This religious drama, this poetical sermon, wrought out of the traditions of the people and priests, touching the greatest calamity which ever tried the hearts and tested the faith of man. And if this interpretation be true, with how much reverential care should we consider these ancient records embraced in the Bible? The scientist picks up a fragment of stone, the fool would fling it away with a laugh, but the philosopher sees in it the genesis of a world. From it he can piece out the detailed history of ages. He finds in it, perchance, a fossil of the oldest organism, the first traces of that awful leap from matter to spirit, from dead earth to endless life. That marvel of marvels, that miracle of all miracles, by which dust and water and air live, breathe, think, reason, and cast their thoughts abroad through time and space and eternity. And so, stumbling through these texts, falling over mistranslations and misconceptions, pushing aside the accumulated dust of centuried errors, we lay our hands upon a fossil that lived and breathed when time was anew. We are carried back to ages not only before the flood, but to ages that were old when the flood came upon the earth. Here Job lives once more, the fossil breathes and palpitates, hidden from the fire of heaven deep in his cavern, covered with burns and bruises from the falling debris of the comet, surrounded by his trembling fellow refugees, while chaos rules without and hope has fled the earth. We hear Job, bold, defiant, unshrinking, pouring forth the protest of the human heart against the cruelty of nature, appealing from God's awful deed to the sense of God's eternal justice. We go out and look at the gravel heap, worn, rounded, ancient, but silent. The stones lie before us. They have no voice. We turn to this volume, and here is their voice. Here is their story. Here we have the very thoughts men thought, men like ourselves, but sorely tried, when that gravel was falling upon a desolated world. And all this buried unrecognized in the sacred book of a race and a religion. And there we have it. A long chapter, 43 minutes plus yesterday's read. This next one, chapter 13, probably long again. Genesis read by the light of the comet, coming up next time I do this. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. Like and smash that subscribe button and all that. Check out all the other live tabs for the rest of this book. We still have part 4. There's another 8 chapters in part 4, which is conclusions. Was pre-glacial man civilized? Oh, that'll be interesting because this is back from the 1880s. So the scene of man's survival, Bella's comet, the universal belief of mankind, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, thank you very much. And I'll see you soon. Love you. And I'll just end this stream here.